What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. The Yankees swept the Tigers, and Aaron Judge said something he couldn't say, and that's why he was ejected. What's up, Scott?
Which is just absolutely ridiculous. Yes, the story being that the Yankees swept the Tigers is a good one. That's a great win in my book. And the fact that Aaron Judge got thrown out of a baseball game is absolutely ridiculous. And this guy's got to live with that stain now for the rest of his career, that he's the only person. And I maybe at this point, now the Judge has gotten thrown out of a game, he'll be like, you know what, I can just do it.
Screw
again.
it. Let's do it again.
but like the first guy to do that, understanding that what his temperament is, the fact that he is, and a pretty even keeled guy and has been, and respectful to the umpires for a very long time, even though he's been getting screwed his whole career on the low strike. The fact that you threw the guy out is absolutely preposterous, and the guy needs to hold a press conference to apologize.
Well, here we are again. So here we are again, a week later, and another, I agree, ridiculous ejection of a Yankee. This time Judge. Last time it was Aaron Boone getting tossed because of a fan yelling from the stands. But I feel like the reason is the same. No, that umpires
not in
are
this
on
case.
high alert. I don't think so. Do you literally think Judge said something to the umpire you quote couldn't say? You think he said "fuck your mother"? You think he said "I'm going to eat your children"? Like, what do you think he said? He didn't say anything. He's like, bullshit, ump, and turned his back to walk to the dugout, which he probably says every hitter says millions of times.
That's the thing. Like, you look at what Rizzo was yelling from the dugout. This is exactly the situation. He's soft. It was a soft ejection. It was an utterly ridiculous ejection. And for whatever the umpire deemed to be the phrase or comments that you cannot say that Aaron Judge said is not enough. Whatever that was not enough to get thrown out of a game, especially coming from that man who said a piece and walked away, as he normally does. He doesn't even show him up. Didn't even turn his back.
A little bit. It was a 2% show up because he kind of threw his arm up with the bat. I don't think it warranted an ejection. He did turn his back and head towards the dugout. Yeah. And usually the ump is going to, say, okay, fine, you're going back to the dugout. Let's not make a big deal about this.
Jeter was renowned for this thing, and Judge reminds me of the way that he is. And I know that Jeter never got thrown out of a game too. So this is like
he's the first captain since Don Mattingly because they skipped over. Yeah.
He's the second captain since Don Mattingly, but so 50-50.
I meant first captain to get thrown out. No, Jeter didn't get thrown out.
Right. First captain since Don Mattingly. There've been two. I get it. But he does the same thing where he will slowly, if he disagrees with a call, he will turn his back to the umpire like he's walking to the dugout. This is exactly what Jeter used to do. And then mutter something under his breath and say his piece. And he'll walk slowly. Maybe he'll do the beginning of the walk back to the dugout is a little bit slower because he's got to say something, but he does it in a way that's quote respectful and all that. No. That's out the window now. Aaron Judge needs to bully these guys at this point. Now you need to lash out on the entire umpire union because the ejection was crazy. It's crazy. You don't throw that guy out of a game, especially in that situation.
Yeah. No, it was ridiculous. But
it's a home game in a 2-run game, a home game
on
that
Star
the
Wars
fans
Day.
come to see on Star Wars Day. He was Jedi Judge a couple of years ago, and you throw him out in front of the home crowd in a tight game at the end. It's really like the opposite of reading the room. It has no connection to what's going on in that game.
I think the ump is full of crap. Judge didn't say anything that was like the magic words to get someone thrown out. I really do think. I know you kind of shot this down, but I think umpires are on high alert with the Yankees, and they have a quick trigger because there's this narrative now that the Yankees are always going to complain about something, whether it's Boone, whether it's Judge, whether it's Rizzo, whoever it is. I mean, Soto, to his credit as well, anytime there's a ball called or a strike called that's questionable, he's saying something to the ump. And now I'm not saying he's showing the ump up, but he's questioning the ump. Okay, you don't think that gets under ump skins after a little while?
Well, if Juan Soto doesn't agree with the call, the umpire is probably wrong. So
no, I agree. Juan Soto's right 99.9% of the time.
Yeah. So I feel like you're getting to the theory of
yes,
anything that you do, I'm going to hurt the other people to make it affect you the most. So this is all really just against Aaron Boone. The umpires are now be like, you know what? We got to throw Judge out. For Boone to shut up, we got to throw Judge out. Is that what you're saying? It's like,
no, that's not what I was saying.
because
I just
then your peers or the people on your team, if they get punished for actions that you do, that actually cuts deeper.
that does cut deeper, and that does make Aaron Boone maybe think twice before opening his mouth. But I just think it's the same analogy I used when we talked about the Boone thing. When you're waiting for somebody to say something, the moment they open their mouth, even if it is not really bad, you have a quick trigger because you're building it up in your mind the whole time. You're building it up in your mind, and then you're like, oh, you open your mouth, you're gone, get out of here.
And in this case, it was more of like, I'm not going to look in the mirror and take accountability for my wrong call. If you say one thing after I realized, as soon as I hit it, as soon as I made that call, I knew it was wrong. And then you said a thing. It
was a strike. That's the worst part.
You say a thing, and then I'm going to throw you out. I'm looking for that right away. I don't know. That's not the guy you do that with. That's all I'm saying. You don't do it with that guy. If you did it with anybody else on that team, except for maybe Anthony Volpe, I would a hell of a lot better.
It was a strike, though. That's the worst part. It looked worse because it was a missed location, so the catcher had to go across the plate to catch it.
Yeah.
But it did catch the zone according to the StatCast thing, which also could be bullshit. Who the hell knows? But probably in a robo umpire world, that is called a strike.
Well, then you know what? No one's gonna. You can't argue with a robot.
Oh, I can't. No. Don't you remember in that minor league game when they were testing it? Like the first inning, there was the umpire yelling at the umpire for the robocall. It's like he had to do it. He's like, "This, I've just got to get this over with."
Well, they should have someone there just so that they can be yelled at for what the
That's the
computer
umpire's
says.
job now. They're just punching bags, verbal punching bags for. So the Yankees did sweep. A stolen sweep, right? Like, wasn't that a stolen sweep kind of? Because Friday night, damn, nothing for 8 innings, and then the weirdest of weird rallies in the 9th inning with a ground ball single up the middle, a bunt by Verdugo, a slap double to right field on like kind of a late swing by Stanton, and then a pulled in infield seeing eye single by Rizzo to get the job done.
I'm not going to call the slap for Stanton. Stanton had put a good swing on that. He just went with the pitch and went to right field, which I'm glad he's doing because I think this point in his career, that's where he's most effective. Look, you know how I reacted to the Baltimore losing 3 of 4, and then you come in and you sweep Detroit with this series. At the end of the day, honestly, like the games felt similar, very similar, where they could have gone either way. When we lost to the 3 of 4, the offense wasn't there. But the pitching was there. This time, pitching really was there. Again, offense came through when they needed to. And there were, Aaron Judge was hitting the ball, which was better. Juan Soto obviously came through in big spots, but it felt similar. If they had gotten some of those hits, a couple of those hits, the Baltimore series is different. And so the bottom line is like the consistency between the two of these. The pitching staff was really good again, and the offense this time delivered when they needed to.
Yeah, barring the last game of the Baltimore series. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that is the glass half full way to look at, call it the last couple of weeks of the Yankees season, where they're in every game. The pitching has been fantastic, and the offense, with a couple more timely hits, could have a few more wins, and then things look even better than they do look overall on the whole, which their overall record is good. That is definitely the glass half full. The glass half empty is like, I don't know, this offense is still completely like hit or miss, and unless it's Juan Soto really getting, like, I had no question in my mind he was going to come through in a big spot there on Sunday afternoon, whether it was going to be a walk to get a run in, a sac fly to get a run in, or like he did a bases clearing double. I knew something good was going to happen with Juan Soto at the plate in that spot. That's the only guy I feel that way out of the 9.
Well, I still feel that way with Aaron Judge, even though he had been struggling, and this series is like, you look over his last 7 or 8 games too. He's close to 300. He's hitting the ball a little bit better. We are definitely seeing, maybe it's not as fast as everybody wanted, but we're seeing Aaron Judge again. The guy does not look injured. I know I've seen it on Twitter, people that are speculating a lot of things in the way that they are in the way that he is approaching the plate. He's standing further away from the plate, like all this stuff. His timing's off, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. His timing's off. And it's seemingly this Detroit series has been much better. And the home run that he hit, not an easy pitcher to hit it against.
Yeah. Yeah. And we just got some numbers for runners in scoring position, which, because you're saying, a couple more timely hits and things look a lot differently. But the Yankees overall as a team with runners in scoring position have an 843 OPS that ranks fourth in baseball. And then Soto's been otherworldly with runners in scoring position, a 440 batting average. Stanton a 333 batting average, Rizzo a 303 batting average, Trevino a 353, Cabrera 316. Those are all the leading Yankees with runners in scoring position. So there are a handful of guys in this lineup that are coming through in the clutch spots. I guess they just didn't come through. I mean, it's really that the Baltimore series, they didn't come through.
It's crazy because you look at what's happening. I just asked for this other stat in our chat here, and the guys pulled it up for me. On base percentage in the American League, Yankees are number 1. So we're talking about a consistent offense that hasn't shown up. They're consistently getting on base. It's a matter of turning. The problem is that they also lead the league in double plays. And that's where you completely get rid of that on base percentage number. Because if you're looking at a team that is leading number 1 in on base percentage, you'd think that they'd be at the very top. You'd think they'd be scoring a lot of runs. You'd think that, the offense would be clicking from top to bottom. You don't lead an on base percentage.
Well, no, they did. They were always like high in on base percentage in like the 2021, 2022 seasons, but their numbers with runners on base were poor.
That's what I'm talking about.
Last year was an anomaly. Last year they didn't get on base. They didn't hit with runners. They couldn't hit last year.
But you don't lead the American League in on base percentage by just being heavy weighted by 1 to 2 guys. That's a team stat. That is a team stat that needs to. The fact that they have grounded into so many goddamn double plays is making that number not look as good and make the offense obviously be a problem when you look at the final stats. Those double plays, they need to clean that up. Like, that's a huge number. You look at the double plays and they cut that in half. This offense feels different.
I've cut it in half. I mean, 10. I mean, what do they have? 40 double plays at this point. So if you, instead of cutting in half, you have 30 double plays, which is still crazy high for a little more than a month of baseball. And that's probably a big difference.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you asked me if in the beginning of May and the Yankees led the American League in on base percentage, would you be happy with that? Would you think that everything else is probably going decently? I would be. And if I see the pitching staff and the numbers that they have in the ERA, the pitching staff, I'm like, damn, this team is clicking. This team is finding their groove. They're seeing pitches. They're getting on base. So the rest of it's going to come. That's like I said, that's the glass half full approach. It's like these other things are good from an offensive perspective. So you just have to bank on Judge starting to pick it up and be more consistent. Volpe, who I pulled some numbers on Volpe. If you take away, and I know you can't take away, but if you take away his first road trip in which he hit 409, he's hitting 227 with a 315 on base percentage and a 633 OPS. That's basically the same thing he did last year. So the first road trip of the season where he was amazing, 409 batting average, 500 on base. Since then, he's been the exact same offensive player he was last year. Yeah. The kid definitely needs to find the consistency. I don't know. It looked like early on we found a consistent Anthony Volpe. I was extremely excited. Everybody's extremely excited. I'm still on a good place with this kid. He definitely needs to find consistency. There's no doubt.
Did you hear? I forget when it was. Boone was asked.
He's making some damn good plays in the field too.
He was asked if he's going to move Volpe out of the leadoff spot. I forget when he was asked this. I think like in the Baltimore series, maybe. Do you remember what he said? Basically, that spot is up for grabs when we have someone who can go there. Like when he was asked about that like 2 weeks earlier, it was kind of like, oh no, it's Volpe's job now. But then when he was asked more recently, he's like, well, when we have somebody, someone else is going to be there.
Maybe. I think he's just, not locking into one thing, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, you can't deny the numbers over the last, 4 weeks, month.
Would you switch it up now? Who would it be?
No, because I don't think there's anyone to put in. I wouldn't.
Verdugo?
No, I want him in a run producing situation. He's been good in that 4 spot. Keep him in that 4 spot.
Oswaldo?
Swing him too much.
No, I know.
Oswaldo has been roaming the bottom of the lineup and doing a good job too. So
I agree. You basically have to ride it out with Volpe, hope he turns it around, or hope that LeMahieu can come back sooner than later and fill that spot if Volpe's still struggling.
Another guy that might be considered after a week plus or a couple of games into is John Birdie. If he's playing more consistently, I could see him getting a shot up there. He's that type of player.
Yes, we'll talk about some injury updates, but being able to speak a second language is one of the coolest things. I'm so envious of people who can fluently speak another language. We all know the best way to learn a language is by immersing yourself in the country and the culture, but that might not be realistic for you. So the next best way is with Babbel. Babbel is great because their convenient courses can fit into your hectic schedule. Lessons are only 10 minutes long, and they are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. You'll be able to order food, ask for directions, and just converse with people like a real speaker of that language. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold. Plus, all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here is a special limited-time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Bronx. That is 60%, 60, at babbel.com/Bronx, spelled BABBEL.com/Bronx. Rules and restrictions apply. You did mention John Birdie. So what did he do? Like a game of rehab and came back? It was quick.
Yeah, it was quick. It was quick, and he completed that rehab, which is a good thing because we were all tightens up. Not great for middle guy in his middle 30s, but he did it, and he came back and played well.
Yeah, and the Birdie thing is just like they've got a Nick Birdie and a John Birdie spelled differently, and it's like if you're not looking at the TV to what like the graphic they're showing on TV, you hear someone talking about Birdie rehabbing and Birdie coming back. I'm just like, what's
yeah, especially because they're both on a similar path.
Yeah,
they were rehabbing, coming back, both injured. It's confusing as hell.
Canley is also nearing a rehab assignment. He's expected to need only 1 or 2 more live batting practice sessions before pitching in minor league games.
Yeah, he was supposed to throw on Saturday, I believe. I'm not sure if
the Somerset game
came about.
Got rained.
Somerset was rained out on Sunday. That was the game that Nick Birdie was supposed to be rehabbing in. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here, because if Canley's nearing a rehab assignment and you figure he's back in the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks, call it June 1. Nick Birdie also in a similar situation, maybe towards the end of May. The bullpen's been really good. They have been, as much as I've had some hesitancy about the guys that have gone out there have done a really good job. So it'll be interesting to see how they, bring guys back and who they're sending down. Because there've been a lot of guys who've been really effective. And
so what is this? It's now 3 saves in a row for Holmes that were more than 3 outs, right? I believe that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So that's also something that I know they hate. They're doing it because they kind of have no choice, but they hate doing that. So they really need more reinforcements than that bullpen. As good as the bullpen's been, they do need more bodies out there.
Yeah, and it depends on who you're sending down to get those bodies into an. I mean, is Nick Birdie going to be a guy that's going to come in the 8th inning?
No, but
probably
Nick
not
Birdie,
immediately. Tommy Canley would be.
But Nick Birdie can. You're still adding depth to the bullpen.
You're adding depth to the bullpen. That's the biggest piece. And I put a note in here to jump around games a little bit, but Luke Weaver came in on Saturday, and I've talked shit about everybody in this bullpen so far, which hand up, it's been a hell of a lot better than I expected. Luke Weaver's one of those guys, been a lot better than I expected. And to his credit, man, I mean, you look at his last 5 starts. I just pulled some numbers on his last 5 starts, or his last 5 appearances. Inning and a third, 2 2/3, 2 innings, 2 innings, 2 1/3, 3 hits total in that, 0 earned runs, bunch of strikeouts. The guy's been really good, and he's getting a lot of swings and misses too. I mean, the Yankees obviously saw something in him, gave him a contract, and he's coming in and pitching in pretty decent situations too. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to lean on him. But as you're seeing, he's a 2-inning guy that they're using as that 2-inning swing guy pretty clearly. And he's not just coming in when they're losing. I mean, he's come in a couple laughers, but he's coming in closer games too. So wouldn't be surprised if you start to see.
He's been forced into more leverage situations.
Yeah, but he's been handling it very well. He's been pitching very well. So that's a guy that I have a feeling Boone's going to, continue to press a little bit more and see what he can do in higher leverage situations, because he's throwing the ball as well as anybody out there.
That's, I guess, a luxury you have right now, where when everyone is pitching good, you can start testing them in leverage spots.
Yeah.
But I mean that's also a situation where you test someone and he fails. And you say, "Why'd you use that guy in a high leverage spot?" Like it's.
Well, because there's no guy in that spot
I
right
know.
now. That's the
I know.
thing. I mean, if we're looking at that and saying don't try things, we're gonna kill you for trying things. Like that's a crazy outlook in my opinion. You got to see what these guys are made of, and in May, why not test them as much as you possibly can? Because the end of your bullpen right now is locked down. You just need to figure out what's happening in the innings leading up to it and see who's the most trusted people that are, emerging from that. I think Victor Gonzalez is definitely one of them. Caleb Ferguson, for some reason, is. I mean, he's been pitching okay, but I think Luke Weaver is going to be another one of those guys.
DJ on the injury front also started up his rehab again after being shut down. I don't know if you caught this on the broadcast. They said there was a graphic that said DJ began dynamic workouts on the field. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Do you know what those dynamic workouts were?
No, on the field, no. Like, are we using bands? Mm-mm. Are we using? Is it playing pepper?
No, it was swinging a bat and catching a ball.
Oh, okay.
Those were the dynamic workouts. I thought those were baseball activities. Like, is the term baseball activities dead, and now those are dynamic workouts? They needed to make them sound fancier.
Were they wet swings or dry swings?
They were wet swings.
Oh, they were wet swings too?
Yeah.
That's a true. A wet swing is a baseball activity.
That's what I'm saying. Is a
baseball activity. Yeah.
Catching and throwing a baseball and taking a wet swing at a baseball. Those are baseball activities if I've ever seen one.
Is the ball wet or is the swing wet?
Well, the field was wet because it was raining.
Okay, but in a dry and wet swing, is the ball wet or is the swing wet?
The batter's wet.
Yeah, the batter's wet from the swing.
That sounded bad. Giancarlo Stanton probably needs to do some more dynamic stretching, if anything, because did you see him on Saturday? I think it was Saturday, right? The ball off the pitcher's glove into no man's land in the infield. The second baseman is running in from basically like right field. And I'm like, okay, Stanton's going to actually beat this one out. And then I saw, I'm like, oh wait, he might not actually beat it. Oh, no. Oh, he's out by half a step. Oh my God.
What about that double in the ninth inning that he hit though? All of a sudden he was on second base. He was on second base pretty quick.
So how though, like you made this point last episode. It's as crazy as it is. It's impressive the restraint he can show when running.
I didn't see him running. I didn't see the camera angle of him running on that double, but he got there pretty quickly. There's no way he was running at the same pace.
But that's a stand-up double every day of the week, even for a slow hitter or slow runner.
I don't know. The dude on the Tigers who got a triple out of a similar ball that really didn't get away from Juan Soto all that much was impressive. The speed in which Giancarlo Stanton got to second base, I want to see that clocked because to me he was running faster, which completely destroys the theory that last week in Baltimore was the fastest he could run. It's in him.
Because the one I'm talking about is the ground ball in the infield. The play is literally in front of him because it's happening at second, like in between second and first base. So he can see, like, if I just turn this up by 5%, I'm going to be safe. And didn't. No, and I know that's not a spot where it's like, it was late in the game. I believe it was the 8th inning. The Yankees already had a lead at that point. So I guess you can say that spot that him getting to first base doesn't matter much, but at the same time, that's a hit. That's a runner on base, potentially another run to add to your lead. And he jogged and was out by half a step.
The regulator was turned on. It was turned on for that at bat.
I couldn't believe it. And like not a word from Kay or O'Neill about it.
Yeah, at this point, it's like beating a dead horse. It's like, I bet Susan said something.
That's true. I wasn't listening to the radio.
Now there's only one person to say that shit, the yelling at the cloud stuff, because
Shackle's not going to say it.
Shackle's not saying it, man. He might like begrudgingly support it at one point and just like, humor the comments, but he's not making those comments. So
you think Shackle's going to get is it his job now, or are they doing open tryouts the rest of the year?
It's him right now. I think he's the guy. He does stuff for Yes Network too. So I think, they have a couple other people.
Stuff for Yes. Did they also have Ricky Ricardo filling in sometimes for John last year, who's the Spanish language broadcaster?
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to be the guy. Do you like Shackle? Like the way that he broadcasts?
He's got a very announcer voice.
That's what I don't like about it. I wish he would just be more himself and stop turning that he needs to turn down the announcer voice a little bit and just
But you
let
know
his
what?
personality fly into it. It's just a standard broadcast voice.
Yeah, it's like that because he probably I don't know where he went to school. I guarantee you he went to Syracuse.
I'm pretty sure Fordham.
Or Fordham. Okay. Where it's like they beat that that's like that news anchor voice where you have to talk in a specific cadence about the thing you are speaking about. It's just like just talk like a normal human.
Yeah.
Like you're having a conversation.
I mean, some of the best broadcasters out there have their own style, have their own dynamic thing, right? Like those are the guys that you remember. It's not the ones that they give you the very typical play-by-play.
But you know what? I feel the same way. I like Ryan Ruocco, but he also, when he's calling games, goes into the announcer mode. And
a little bit, but he's got a lot more flair and personality to him. And
he has a lot more personality and other things.
This probably comes with time as well. So to be fair, I'm not shitting on Justin Shackle. It's just the guy probably just needs a little bit more time. And if he gets the job, maybe he's got more confidence to kind of let his personality, stick out a little bit more. So he's obviously, if he's the guy, you're coming in behind a legend. You got to follow up. It's a tough follow. So, I mean, I for the most part, I think he does a good job. I think he just needs to find his own personal voice a little bit more.
Yeah. And it's hard because I bet for Shackle or anyone that had listened to Yankees games for years and years, it's like you've only heard John Sterling or you've only heard Michael Kay. So like you might feel inclined to borrow phrases or if
you're the guy,
if you're the guy, you have to really be mindful. Like you can't borrow a phrase from John Sterling or borrow a phrase from Michael Kay because then you're just copying the guy that came before you, and that's not going to work.
I mean, how many phrases are original at this point? There's none. That's why you got to do something a little different.
I mean, Michael Kay has basically coined the "see ya" for a home run, and John Sterling, obviously, with the Yankees win and his home run calls. It is high. It is far. It is a foul ball.
Yeah, no, of course, but that's the thing. Like when you come in after this legendary wave of guys who have been around for a long time.
Oh yeah, it's an impossible.
We're getting to that point now where you're starting to see. We've been at that point where you're seeing a lot of these legends in broadcast, get older and retire, and to put your own stamp on something at this point with pretty much everything already done, it's tough. It's not an easy thing to do.
That's what I was saying. Like the AI, like who do you want to call in your game tonight? It's like turn on the AI if that's ever coming.
Might be.
Scott, those items in your closet that you always reach for? Maybe it's your go-to hoodie, for example. For me, my new go-to pair of clothes is my Doer jeans. That's because Doer jeans are perfect for anything: working at home, going to an office, running errands, going out to dinner, the list goes on. Doer makes stretch performance denim and lifestyle apparel for both men and women. Their elevated styles stand apart and are made to last. They're made from natural fibers for high stretch, breathability, and moisture absorption. The temperature regulation fabric keeps you fresh, cool, and dry all day. And the antibacterial treatment means less washing, so less wear and tear on the jeans. Trust me, you'll be reaching for your Doer jeans again and again. Order yours today. Check out Doer's flagship stores in LA or Denver, or you can shop online with our URL, shopdoer.com/Bronx. Right now, our listeners get 20% off site-wide when you use the exclusive URL, shopdoer.com/Bronx, spelled DUER.com/Bronx. This is an amazing deal. Do not wait. 20% off right now, shopdoer.com/Bronx. We did already touch on Soto, but I kind of was like, did you have any doubt in your mind in that spot, big spot in the 8th inning there, pouring rain, lefty on lefty coming out of the bullpen? I'm like, Soto is in such control of the at bat. Even he fell behind in the count, I believe, just like never a doubt in my mind.
There was zero doubt in my mind. And it was, I know it was lefty, but it was kind of a good matchup in the way. And the ball was wet, was raining. It was a really tough situation. It was a tough situation. It was Chapin, I think it was in at that point, right? Who I would definitely want it to be a Yankee, and I think he would look so good in pinstripes. I had zero doubt. I had zero doubt. And honestly, you mentioned like base, or he was going to get at least a sac fly or walk or run. I had all the confidence in the world this guy was going to find some green and put the ball in play, and it was going to be a hit. I haven't had this much confidence with a guy in the box in a very long time that wears the pinstripes. That feels automatic.
I was thinking
in
about
big situations.
Who is the last hitter Because there's been guys obviously that have gone through hot streaks, and you're like, oh, need to get this guy up right now because he's just so locked in. One instance I can remember is in, I think it was the 2010 playoffs. Robinson Cano against the Texas Rangers had an
Yeah.
absolutely monster series. I think he hit like 4 home runs in the series. No one else could hit in that series, but every time Cano came to the box, he either walked or hit the ball in the stands.
I was going to say Cano and Jeter were the last two that to me had that feeling. Jeter in big moments,
Yeah.
I felt always great, and Cano just had such a a good consistent swing that was so smooth, and he just made a lot of contact and was able to turn so easily, even on lefty on lefty. He was just that good at his peak. He was that good. So those were probably the two guys.
But Soto's control of the at bat, obviously he had a bases clearing double, but his control of at bats every single time up gives me the confidence, that's the reason I said something positive will happen. It might not be a bases clearing double, but it's going to be positive to take a lead here, whether it's a walk, whether it's a good at bat, whether it's a sac fly, just because he has such command over every at bat that in a big spot, he's going to do something good. He's going to at least keep the line moving.
The other side of that too is that the pitcher on the mound knows exactly what you're thinking and thinks the same thing and understands that this guy, I have to be absolutely perfect to get this guy out. I have to not only be perfect, but I have to fool him in a way where he's not expecting that perfect pitch. Because even if I'm perfect and he's expecting it or he's looking in that zone, I'm still going to get beat very possibly because he's that good. So there's a ton of pressure, especially with bases loaded, runners on against him. And you know what his numbers are with runners in scoring position. They're otherworldly. So the fact that the pitcher has to press that much more and make a perfect pitch is just, leads to balls over the plate as well and leads to mistakes. So in a pressure situation, you give me any pitcher in baseball and Juan Soto. And I think that Juan Soto has the advantage because he doesn't get unnerved at all.
Right.
You got to have balls of steel as a pitcher to go up against him in a big spot and be able to execute.
And I think that a reason why is because he treats every at bat like that.
Yeah,
he's so competitive in every at bat. Like it could be a 7-0 game in the 5th inning, and if a ball is off the plate by an inch, he's going to be taking it. And if it's called a strike, he's looking back at the ump like, "What the hell, man?" Like, I know a strike and ball. So every single pitch is so competitive. So when he's in a big spot, it's just another day, another pitch.
Another day, another pitch. And doesn't matter what inning it is, doesn't matter who he's playing, doesn't matter what day of the week it is. The guy is a locked in competitor, from innings, from first pitch to last pitch. And it's a joy to watch.
Which is why, like, I know the conditions were awful, but they walked Volpe on 5 pitches ahead of Soto to load the bases.
Oh, you think they did that on purpose?
No. But you just gotta if reverse these situations, right? And it's like, who's one guy that like we never wanted to see come to the plate, right? It's like, oh, Altuve's on deck, and you're walking the number 9 hitter of the Astros lineup ahead of Altuve to load. You're just like, why aren't you attacking this hitter right now instead of having to face Altuve with the bases loaded or something like that?
And to be fair to Volpe, I know he struggled, but he's still been good in I didn't look at his numbers, what he has in clutch situations. In my head, he's been pretty good in clutch situations. Like the guy does seem to knock up a bit in those situations. Whereas Soto is consistent. Volpe, I don't know, for whatever reason, when that pressure's on him, seems to lock in a little bit, or he has so far.
Yeah, I mean, his walk rate overall, like I said, during the struggles, Volpe's is only 9%. So he's not walking a lot. He's striking out 22% in that time frame. So it's just it's just been inconsistent, bad contact, I think, a lot. But all right, let's talk about the pitching of
1063 OPS and high leverage. Logan just put in here for Volpe.
106. Oh, that's very good.
Yeah. So you see that, like when the pressure's on with the kid, for whatever reason, he's able to lock into an at bat even more. And this
was kind of the story last year with him too. Like, for his inconsistencies last year, his leverage numbers I think were decent. Not 1063 good, but better than his overall numbers.
So Soto needs to teach him how to bottle that up and use it in every single at bat.
Treat every single at bat like it's a high leverage spot.
Yes.
It takes a lot of mental concentration that I think some guys just can't do.
It does.
Schmidt and Stroman, I want to talk about both of these guys. So Schmidt went 5 innings, again, into the 3rd time through the order, 2 batters in this time. He hit Riley Green, who he just was trying to come inside. It was not an intentional thing, but Green had already taken him deep in that game. Second start in a row, by the way, for Schmidt. They gave up a leadoff home run and then completely rebounded after that. So that's good to see. Then he got Mark Canha to ground out to end the inning. But it was kind of a little bit more of a grind for Schmidt than even his start against Baltimore. So they pulled him after just the 5 innings.
Yeah, and he's still not walking guys. He's around the plate. Strikeout numbers are good for him. So a good at bat. Obviously, you want to see more depth, but he's been good. I know we pulled some numbers on his swing and miss stuff, and this was some interesting because when I was watching this, I'm looking at what he's doing this year compared to last year from an eye test perspective, and I'm like, the guy's not nibbling as much as he was last year. Last year, it felt like he was really trying to, guys were going into deeper counts. He wasn't able to put them away, and his swing and miss stuff has been just a lot better when you look at the actual numbers. And the big thing is in 2023, 22%, 22.6% swing and miss, 2024, 28.3. So he's up, 6%, right around 6%.
Well, just look at the percentiles in the league. I think that actually tells a bigger story. 2023, he was in the 36th percentile. So basically bottom third of the league. That's
K percentage. That's K percentage.
Yeah, K percentage. This year, 75th percentile, top quarter of the league. That is a massive difference.
And the huge difference when you're looking at the pitch selection and what he's getting swings and misses on, in 2023, his changeup was getting 9% swing and miss. Sinker was getting 11%. And when you look in 2024, this is the biggest difference. Changeup, 0%. So he's not throwing the changeup. And sinker, 23.8%. So he has essentially given up that changeup for the sinker and having success with it, because the other numbers,
these are swing and miss.
The cutter's up. The cutter is up a little bit from 22 to 29. The sweeper is 26 to 29, and the knuckle curve is about 33, which is about the same as what he got last year. But the biggest difference is the fact that he's getting big time swing and miss on that sinker, and essentially just traded it in the changeup for that sinker.
Yeah. Yeah, those percentages you were just talking about are the swing and miss percentages of those pitches that he's using. But yeah, you're right. He's not getting any swings and misses on the changeup this year. He's been way better. Just like for the numbers, but just like you said, looking at him attack a lineup, despite his struggles third time through the order this year, which he has had again, he's been way more effective those first 2 times through the order to lineups. One of the reasons last year he struggled so much third time through the orders because he was such a battle, such a grind to get through those first 2 times. Like
they saw a lot of pitches. Yeah.
So many pitches. Every at bat was like a 6, 7, 8 pitch at bat because he couldn't put anyone away. Even if he made a good pitch, it would just be fouled off. This year, he's having much more effective and efficient innings and at bats leading up to that time. So maybe you're right. It is, to Cohn's points, a mental thing with his third time through the order. Like maybe that was a Girardi
comment. Yeah. Well, what's interesting, because we talked about
that's actually more impactful. It's coming from Girardi, a former manager, saying that.
Yeah. And a catcher.
Yeah.
So the other thing about that Cohn was mentioning, he was talking about that front to back. Like he should be, and maybe this is more because they were specifically talking about the 6th inning and that third time through. And Logan, if you can pull the changeup percentage used from what's the difference in that? Because Cohn was talking about, and I mentioned this last episode, but he was talking about that Schmidt using the front to back more than the side to side. And it's kind of going against what the numbers say for swing and miss. The swing and miss stuff is saying that the side to side is getting a lot more swing and miss. The cutter and the sinker, cutter is
sweeper. So let's explain what front to back and side to side mean, because that might not.
It's change of speed. Change of speed
is front to back. Side to side is movement on a pitch. So a curveball,
and then up and down you can use like
a sinker.
more power fastball pitchers use more up and down. Like you see Garrett Cole elevate up with a fastball and be a lot more effective than a guy like Clarke Schmidt would.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, it's the style, but it's interesting because the changeup is not getting swing and miss this year. Obviously, it's down in usage also, but maybe it's also, hey, wait to throw that changeup later in the game to give you that front to back.
Go ahead, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at his pitch percentages. I mean, he's thrown the changeup 7 times total this year.
Yeah.
So it's basically been
basically
That's
0%.
non-existent.
Yeah.
So he's been a 4-pitch pitcher with the
which is
two fastballs, the slider, and the curveball.
Interesting because there's one nothing straight that's thrown in there. He's not throwing a four seam. The changeup, a lot of guys has a little bit of a side motion, but it's more of a downward slower motion. But there's nothing in there that he's thrown on a line. Everything's got some movement to it with his fast stuff, and then obviously the off speed. So I do think that knuckle curve, maybe he's using that knuckle curve a little bit more because of the in different spots, because of the change in speed. You can get that separation from the knuckle curve. It's also got a very different shape up. But
I was in the car listening to part of Schmidt's game, and Susan was talking about how Clarke Schmidt is one of the most positive people she's ever met. I don't know if you were listening.
Did you hear him mic'd up? Did you hear the mic'd up segment of him? No. So I didn't catch it in real time, but it was like a cut up of this. I had no idea how much of how loose he is in the dugout and how he plays around a lot and is just I don't know, just more of a goofball than I was expecting. So I don't know. There's a lot of confidence coming from the way that he's just like very loose.
We talked to him years and years ago on this podcast.
Well, he was out of college at that point.
Yes, I know, but that is not the person we talked to.
You when you're walking out of college, he just had Tommy John surgery as well, or was about to have it. I don't remember which. And I think he already had it
because I think he had it before the draft.
Yeah, and you, I bet you even if you mic'd up Clarke Schmidt last year before last, and this year, you would probably have a very different situation and experience because the guy is clearly, when you're pitching better, you feel better, and if you feel good, you play good. It's one of those things. He's got a lot of confidence right now.
Well, as Susan was saying, he's very positive. I'm sure confidence is a form of that, but just positive in the sense that if he does something bad in one start, it's like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to fix it between this next start and I'll be better next time. Like she's like, that's the attitude he has taken or has been ever since she's known him, which is, I guess, some insight on Clarke Schmidt's personality, which
it's also it's kind of a necessity as a pitcher, especially this far, right? You need to be able to turn the page to the next thing and move forward.
Sure.
But
yeah.
No one's saying that about Carlos Rodon.
We don't have to talk about him because he didn't pitch since the last time we talked. So we get to take a break for this podcast talking about Rodon. Stroman, though, unfortunately, has struggled his last 4 starts out in 20 innings pitched, a 4.50 ERA. But the thing that's kind of concerning is back-to-back starts with 5 walks.
Yeah, well, he walked, 3 guys in that last inning? I mean, he was really good up until he wasn't.
Maybe pull him after that second walk.
Yeah, he hit a wall. He hit a wall and just completely lost the strike zone because even, before that, he was good. I mean, I thought he had an effective.
He was very effective, yeah.
He was effective up until that, was it the 5th inning? And
he pitched into the 6th. He pitched into the 6th, yeah. So his final line was 5 1/3, 3 hits, 1 run or 1 earned run, 5 walks on 90 pitches.
And Marcus Stroman leads the American League in ground ball percentage, which I think is a really interesting stat.
Do you know, I have a group chat with Neil and Frank, and during that, Neil said he is pitching like Tanaka used to pitch when he was afraid of contact. And I thought it was a good comparison.
Okay, I want in on this group chat. You need to add me to this group. Yes, I do.
You don't want in on this group chat.
I do.
You will want to leave this group chat within 24 hours of being added. I will add you, and I guarantee you will be gone within 24 hours.
Okay, we'll see. I know what it is. I know it's you're probably getting very similar text messages in this group that you are from your dad.
But yeah, Neil
probably with more frequency.
If anyone is like, oh, you need to have your dad on the podcast, I wish Andrew's dad had a Twitter account. That's Neil Keefe. If they say the same shit. And Frank is just a man child at this point. He's like a 35-year-old with a high paying job and no kids. So he's like, oh, I'm going to Italy this week. I'm like, go fuck yourself, Frank. That is the group chat, basically. Then every now and again, Neil and I complaining about kids.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to Italy in July. I haven't told you guys yet.
Cool. You want Neil to fill in for you on your calls? what I was saying is that he made the comparison because it was it clicked in my brain as soon as he said it. You remember those times when Tanaka would be afraid of contact? He would go into those things, and then like a lot of times he would get out of it, but it would be like he'd load the bases on walks or something like that. That's how Stroman was pitching in that sixth inning.
I just think he lost the plate. I think
Yeah.
he lost his command. I don't think it was intentional by any means. I think he just completely couldn't throw a strike at that point.
Yeah. Well, the Yankees are about to play the Astros at home. The Astros are struggling. We're going to get into why that is, but there are a ton of great seats available for that series if you are on the Game Time app. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to a baseball game is faster than easier than ever on Game Time. The app has so many great features. Some of my personal favorites are the flash deals, so you can see what sections the best deals are in. The all-in pricing option makes it so there are no surprise fees at checkout. And the seat view, you get real pictures from inside the stadium of a human who took the picture, nothing AI generated there. Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets to sporting events, but you can also find tickets to concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. If you remember, I took Leanne to a Broadway show using the Game Time app and got in a fight with the people behind me. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Bronx for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account and redeem code BRONX, that spells Bronx, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Astros. What's their record? 12-22?
Whew.
10 games under 500 in early May?
Minus 20 run differential.
Yeah, it's crazy because like obviously the Yankees swept them in the first series, but there was a lot of close games in there. And when the Yankees were leaving Houston that first week, I wasn't thinking, oh, the Astros are on track for a disastrous season, because they're always a team that should strike fear into you just based on how things have gone the last 7 or 8 years. But is this finally the end of the Astros dynasty?
I don't know. Alex Bregman's not doing anything.
And
Alex
he's a free
Bregman,
agent after the year, right? Isn't he entering isn't this his last year?
It's either an option or a free agency. I'm not sure which one, but he was definitely been discussed as one of these guys that's going to be becoming available soon. But the fact that he is struggling as mightily as he is kind of crazy, because he's always been a very good hitter. But I'm shocked by the numbers that I'm looking at here, and
they can still hit.
A lot of it goes back to pitching.
Yeah, they can still hit. They are 5th in the league with a WRC plus of 113. That's 1 point better than the Yankees. So, I mean, roughly the same offense. But it's not like their offense has completely disappeared. Overall, as a team, they've still put up runs. They rank 26th in ERA with a 4.75, though. Their pitching has been terrible.
Pitching has been terrible. Absolutely terrible. And that'll be interesting to go up against.
This Yankees lineup right now, right? Because the Yankees lineup has struggled to score runs in certain spots. So now you're going up against a pitching staff that has struggled. Is this a breakout week of offense for the Yankees against the Astros pitching? It'll be interesting to see. Tuesday's matchup is Verlander versus Hill. Verlander has made 3 starts back from injury, and he's been pretty good, pretty solid. 6 innings, then 4 1/3, then 6 innings again. He's only given up four total runs. Wednesday, Arrighetti versus Rodon. So, like I said, this is Rodon's first game since that struggle of a start where he gave up 3 home runs in Baltimore. And then Blanco versus Stroman on Thursday. It's a weird 5:00 start on Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be this is one of those series where you're looking at the numbers and you're seeing that it's a bad team on paper, and like you said, the pitching has not been good. This is an opportunity for the Yankees to lay some wood on the Houston Astros. Verlander has been pretty good, so that'll be one guy that they got to get past, obviously. But Luis Hill, again, might match up. I'm interested to see how this is, how it works out here, because this is a team that likes to swing.
Pitch? He didn't pitch against them in that first because he was the 5th starter, so he would have pitched. Correct. After that series. Yeah.
So they have not seen him yet. Him coming off of his last start, I'm very interested to see how this is going to be I think it's going to be a fun game with Verlander and Luis Hill tomorrow night.
Kind of like the old wily veteran versus the young buck in that matchup.
Yeah. And you look at Jose Abreu, who, was a guy that has been very good over his career. Obviously, sent down, not hitting at all.
He stunk with
and
them last year too, didn't he?
He's just a guy who feels like he's at the end.
How old is he? I'm looking that up right now.
He
37.
is.
He's 37.
Yeah. Well, there you
go.
This is the end.
Well, even with the Astros last year, he had an 87 OPS plus because he came off with the White Sox. Remember we praised the Astros for that addition? I thought it was a great addition. He was coming off between 2020 and 2022 MVP finishes of 1st, 14th, and 17th. Okay? It's not like this player was diminishing with Chicago. He was still an offensive beast with Chicago. 87 OPS plus last year. And this year, he just legitimately cannot hit.
I'm looking back at the numbers, though. When you look at his 35-year season in 22 with Chicago, I mean, his power was way down as well. And he played pretty much the whole year. Yeah, he played 157 games. So you could see maybe
he slugged 446 that year versus 4. I mean, yeah, it was
start
down
to see a little bit of a decline. Yeah, maybe there was some writing on the wall.
Okay, but
no, not off a cliff, but writing on the wall.
Was there writing? Was it in marker?
I'm just glad Houston got it wrong.
Was it in chalk? What was this writing? Was it a cave painting?
Yeah, you had to be able to read it. It might have been smudged a little bit, but obviously
was it a toddler just drawing all over a wall, or was it someone with neat handwriting writing on the wall?
The Astros failed in identifying that, which makes me happy. Okay, I'm just trying to show you that they screwed it up.
They failed to see the writing on the wall,
and the White Sox saw it. The lowly White Sox.
Okay, well, speaking of writing on the wall that maybe goes over some people's heads, I don't know. This is a weird transition. Luis Ariz traded to the Padres. Okay. Do you think there was a conversation between Cashman and the Marlins back before the season started when they acquired Birdie that, hey, is Ariz available? Is this even in the conversation here? Like, it would surprise me his name didn't come up at all. I understand that necessarily why the Yankees didn't make a trade for him at that time. But if Ariz is available in early May, he's available in early April.
I mean, this is the first thing I thought. The first thing I thought was that we got John Birdie, but Luis Ariz was available to whomever for some prospects. I mean, because that's a guy, and I know he's not having the year he's had in the past, but that's a guy that is absolutely a perfect compliment for everything that's happening in
batting champ. What year did he win the batting title? A couple years
last
ago,
year.
Right? Was it last? No, it wasn't last year, was it? I don't.
Yeah,
remember.
It was last year, and
okay.
he fits. I don't know what his control is, but
2 years ago. That's what I thought. It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. See how confident I was about last year? He won it twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're both right.
Obviously,
we're both right.
You moron. But he's an absolutely perfect compliment. What's his control? That's something that would be interesting to know. 2 more years.
The Marlins are paying his salary this year, though.
Which is, again, like...
For some prospects.
The Marlins came out of the gate terribly. So they're not going anywhere.
Last year.
They were a playoff team. They're not going anywhere. So obviously they decided that they need to get something for him because they're not going to pay him after next year. And if you're going to get anything for a guy like Luis Ariz, you need to do it this year because, in a walk year, you're obviously not going to get the value. So
here are the pros and cons. We have no clue if Ariz was discussed in that trade, right? But in theory, he was, because I'm sure all things are discussed, right? They do their due diligence on all of it, right? Pros and cons. Birdie is a utility player with a great glove, and that's what the Yankees prioritized acquiring at that time. Mm-hmm. Ariz can be an offensive force. He doesn't strike out. He's a high average guy, not a great defender though. But high average guy doesn't strike out is kind of what you would like to add still to this Yankees lineup. The Yankees, though, when they're going into acquiring Birdie at the time, they're like, well, Gleyber Torres is our everyday second baseman, and I know he's a free agent after this year, but he's not going anywhere this year, and we're hoping DJ LeMahieu is back sooner than later. There was some talk that LeMahieu was back like for the first homestand, if you remember.
There was.
And if you acquire Ariz, that's an everyday player. That's not a utility player. So then where is he playing? That's probably the conversations they were having. Now, fast forward a month later, and you realize, well, Gleyber Torres has been struggling all year, and he's going to be free agent after this year. Maybe could have been nice to have another option for when and if he leaves in free agency. And DJ LeMahieu's doing dynamic baseball activities on the field, which is just playing catch.
It could have been interesting, and obviously, I think this probably was maybe he wasn't available, and then as poorly as they've gotten out of the gate, they realize that they need to do something, because again, they were a playoff team last year. So you could make an argument that you're not trading any of your top players right now because you have an opportunity to make the playoffs, but with their start not happening, and at that point, you might as well get rid of your guys. It would have been an interesting swap out, or if a conversation ever happened between Glaber and Arise. One contract is up at the end of the year, the other one has another year of control. They were rumored for interesting Glaber, for multiple times for arms. The Yankees had allegedly had talked to the Marlins organization. So that would have been an interesting one. But look, I'm not crying over this by any means. I think John Birdie, as far as a fit, was exactly what they needed fit wise. And now that he's hopefully healthy for the longer term, we can see what, that plan, we can see that plan get executed right now and see it live out, because he does fit well.
There's one more thing I want to talk about. It actually goes into kind of this conversation we were just having. But first, whether you are a world-class athlete or podcaster like us, we understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why we're excited Unified Healing is sponsoring the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Unified Healing is a new and innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you have not heard of this yet, then you want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you are in the New York City area or hundreds of other locations around the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. If you're interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself, go to unifiedhealing.com/Bronx to learn more and find a center near you. That is UNIFYD healing.com/Bronx. No material or testimonial on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System. There was an article in The Athletic by Jim Bowden. He did a reason to be optimistic and a reason to be pessimistic about every major league team. Here's what he said for the Yankees. Reason for optimism. Juan Soto has been the AL MVP thus far, slashing .331, .441, .589 with 8 homers, 25 RBIs. Anthony Volpe is raising his game offensively, batting .262 with 3 home runs and 7 steals. He probably didn't look at the actual trends there, but okay. Anthony Rizzo was the AL Player of the Week last week. Hooray! This team is first in the AL and on base percentage. That is huge, as we already talked about. Whereas they ranked 10th last year. The pitching staff ranks 3rd in the majors in team ERA. The Yankees have been winning with their best starter, Garrett Cole, on the IL, and they're hoping he'll return by the end of the month if all goes well. If the paragraph ended there, I wouldn't be talking about this. But then he goes on to say, Aaron Boone is once again proving why he's one of the best managers in baseball in leadership, strategy, and building team culture.
Let me ask you a question. Before Jim Bodner, and maybe he's still there, I don't know. Where was he working on TV?
Where was he working? I don't know. I forget.
I'm pretty sure he was working with Aaron Boone at one point. Pretty sure.
I thought he was MLB Network
together. Yeah, I think that at one point they were together.
Okay, that would have been ESPN then.
There's a kinship. I think there's a kinship here. Is really the point. There's a kinship.
Kinship, I guess, blowing smoke up someone's ass for no reason. Reason for pessimism, they're in the same division as the Orioles, and third baseman DJ LeMahieu continues to stay on the IL with a fractured foot. And as we were just talking about,
I think AI wrote this article.
AI, I don't even think
AI wrote
that.
Like, I'm serious. I'm serious. This is just like chalk stats and
where's the Boone thing? AI doesn't come up with the Boone stuff.
I think AI does come up with the Boone stuff because it's just like, you know what? This is where the human element comes into play. This is where the human element comes into play.
Yeah, the Aaron Boone line made me do it.
But you know what? He's not wrong. The optimism when you're looking at this, here's the other optimism that he didn't even put on there because AI saw this as a negative. Aaron Judge has not really hit until this past week. That is in my eyes, a reason for optimism because he is going to hit. And when he does, this team is going to be that much better and more dynamic on the offensive side. So yeah, AI couldn't tell that because he saw negative numbers and they didn't see the negative as a positive because they have no idea how to use actual human interaction and logic and common sense.
Yeah, no, I think the fact that they have won at the record they've won without Judge hitting and without Cole even on the active roster. Those are
and on base percentage, and go to that on base percentage number. There's a lot of, hey, we've hurt ourselves in situations where we were in position to probably do some damage or score more runs. And again, with the double plays, like this is something that, to quote the one of the best managers in baseball and leadership strategy and building team culture, to quote this man, a lot of action, a lot of traffic on the base path,
Honestly, if he just said one of the best managers in building team culture and leadership, I probably would have just passed it over, but strategy?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to wrap up for today's show. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're going to record next on Friday morning after that Astros series. Again, weird late afternoon start on Thursday, so we'll be back at you Friday morning. Talk to you then.